something like that.
Yeah. And they can't stand up and kind of fight for us, you know, and they can't fight back against the establishment. So I
Now we
definitely think that that's part of the role.
standing up. We have
Yeah.
more standing up for what's right than we do men.
Yeah. So I I think we wanted to talk about too. One of the things I want to focus on is the censorship of specific things surrounding this pedophilia, right? So one thing that we noticed, and also not just even censorship, but the way that these things are being handled. For example, like I'm sure you've seen, I'll post on my stories like a screenshot of one of those pages that's clearly selling child pornography. Like you can read the comments on
Mm-hmm.
one of the child's photos, and the comments are, you know, hey, like the person posting it will be like, hey, I have videos, first video's free, blah, 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 message me. And then, you know, people will respond and be like, you know, okay, yeah. And then so I'll report that page. And the response from Instagram that I get all the time, of course, is we didn't remove this person's profile because it doesn't go against community guidelines, blah, 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 blah. Well, myself and my friend Vanessa, we have multiple times had our own Instagram stories, the posts removed, because when we're screenshotting the page, it's obviously displaying those images of the children of this the profile screenshot. So we will get flags and our posts will be removed for nudity or whatever, child exploitation, but yet the actual profile that we're reporting will apparently be reviewed and determine that it's not violating anything. So like this discrepancy, it's like, I don't know if this is just Instagram, you know, their AI is just not like sophisticated enough to identify, because it's not technically a nude child, but they're in like, you know,
Yeah.
whatever positions that are sexualized, or if it is like on purpose that they are just like, let's ban the people that are exposing it, and let's not ban this pedophile, you know, because there's a lot of speculation that Zuckerberg's in on, you know, they've all been on Epstein's flight logs, and they've all been to the island. And so there's a lot of speculation that it's either that they are, you know, purposely being complicit in this because they're part of the industry, or maybe it's just the AI technology is not sophisticated enough to identify it. What's your opinion on that?
So I think their AI technology is more than capable of doing what you were just saying, as in sorting out the images, sorting out the texts, the hashtags, and everything. Their algorithms are so powerful that, you know, you could talk, not even to your phone, you could talk in another room, your phone will pick it up, and you'll see a sponsor ad relating to
Right.
what you talked about. By the way, I'm trying to find, because people send me stuff like what you were just talking about all the time, and go figure, when I'm actually looking for people's messages, I can't find it. But even somebody just sent me this whole Netflix show of a
Oh yeah.
11-year-old child that is going
Yeah.
to be, I don't know, I can't find these messages on my computer.
The show is called Cuties on Netflix. And the plot of the show is that it's an 11-year-old girl, and they're all, so her and her friends are all members of like a dance group, and they twerk and they do all kinds of like these sexualized dances, basically what you see on TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, little girls doing on TikTok. And, but they're part of like it's actually like a competitive dance group that they're members of. But if you even read like the description of the show, it talks about her rebelling against her family's conservative values, and she becomes sexual as an 11-year-old child. And mind you, even though it's, you know, a fictional show, the actress, the girl who's playing the 11-year-old child, is an 11-year-old child. So like, yeah, this show, it's getting a lot of backlash, thank God, and it hasn't aired yet. It's supposed to air September 9th, I think they said.
Maybe.
But let's just, I mean, can we just talk about the fact that Netflix, you know, they ban documentaries with scientific information regarding vaccines and, you know, COVID and all of these things, but yet they allow these things that are desensitizing us to child pornography and child sexuality. Like,
people need to learn or realize that actually Obama owns a share. He actually owns the shares of the documentary section of Netflix. He's a shareholder. He's a majority
I
of
did not know that.
of the Netflix documentary series. So he has a huge stake in Netflix. And that's why for a long time now that Netflix hasn't been a really like reputable source of information. Like prior to that, when like George Bush was in office and stuff, we had Zeitgeist, we had all these different really kind of revolutionary type documentaries. But once Obama was in office, which now we're talking about 12 years ago, because 4 years of Trump and then 8 years while he was president, Netflix has been kind of shit, in my opinion, unless you're trying to watch TV shows and stuff like that. Another subject, but when you're looking for documents on, Nikola Tesla, or documents on whatever it may be, whatever subject, they're all kind of shit. They're all kind of smear campaigns. They don't really speak a lot of truth. I know a lot of people have a hard time with this subject, which is the shape of the earth. But even when they released a documentary on that, I knew every journalist, every activist, every whistleblower, every CGI expert in that documentary, and they smeared all these people's names. They made them out to look crazy. They edited it and cropped out everything they were saying so much. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And I met these people personally. I had lunch with them. I know all of them. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy that this is what they did on Netflix, is to make people really, believe in a whole different ideology that isn't true. But anyway, Netflix just sucks when it comes to information. I'm pretty much done with Netflix unless I'm watching like a TV show or something. But I use band.video, and that's I think that's owned or whatever, co-owned by Alex Jones, who I know a lot of people have an issue with and stuff, but people don't realize, because they're not in our shoes or his shoes, and obviously he's been doing it longer than I have. But the longer you do this, the bigger name you make of yourself, the more threats you get, the more backlash you get, the more censorship you get and stuff. So you have to
and the more they're gonna smear your name too, and just make it seem like you're crazy.
So at some point you have to do something to at least keep your, if you want to call it a business, which is sharing information with you guys, afloat. And people get mad because he sells products or whatever the fuck it is. People get mad at certain things. He doesn't talk about certain topics and subjects, which I agree. He doesn't talk about Israel very often. He doesn't talk about the banking system very often. He talks about certain things, and there's probably a reason for that. But the dude talks about real shit constantly. He has woken up more people than most people in the community have. Anyway, it's BANNED.video. It's a dope website. It's decentralized. Like, there's no censorship on there. Ben Swan, I think his is called, I could find it real quick.
I love Ben Swan. Yeah, he was one of the only ones that actually reported on Pizzagate, like when it was
that's
happening.
Why he lost his funding. So I have it right here, Plandemic 2. And his website, it's hard to see. I don't know if that's coming up. ise.media. And this is Ben Swan's platform. And yeah, I actually got to talk to Ben Swan. He was working on like a TV, I don't know, kind of like a TV video thing for journalists and stuff, which I wasn't going to be in. I was just going to be featured, but I don't think he got enough funding for it. But yeah, he's an amazing journalist. He's actually Mormon, from Atlanta. And but yeah, he was on mainstream media, literally talking about Pizzagate, like he said. He was going very in depth, showing you the paperwork, the money trails, whose names were on it, the artwork. He was showing everything. And I think he was working for, and I could be wrong if it was MSNBC or whatever, MSN, something like that. He's working for one of these stations, and it wasn't from his CEO of that station. It was from like two levels higher than him, who came down to him and said, hey, you got to stop talking about this. He didn't stop talking about it. They cut I don't think they cut the feed. I don't think he was live at that point, but they just terminated him essentially. Then he got funded by cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and I think there was another, it wasn't Bitcoin. It was, damn, I even invested in it and I forgot. Anyway, one of the crypto companies invested in him. He lasted quite a while with that, but now he has his own thing going on.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, but that just goes to show you, right? That's a perfect example of, that's propaganda at its finest. It's if you are not, if you don't play the game, then you will be smeared, defunded, fired. You'll be destroyed basically if you don't follow the narrative that they want you to follow. And so, you know, we have to obviously find our other resources of information, which thank goodness, you know, we do have. As much as these social media platforms are not working for us, they are still working for us in the way that we can share this information. Like you said, you know, people, even with a small platform, you don't have to have a large platform to just be able to use your voice to stand up for what's right. And you can have 5 followers or 500,000 followers. But if you truly believe that we want to change this, the way this society has been working, and the way that we have been enslaved to this system, then we need to all stand up and use our voices for, you know, exposing these things. And so this whole pedophilia thing, oh, and that's what I was going to say. So to add to your point earlier about, you know, smearing people's names and things like that, you know, that's the media right now. I don't know if you saw, but there was a reporter finally that actually asked Trump about Q. And the question, I mean, they asked him about Q and whether he's like involved. And then her follow-up question was specific to, you know, she's like, this community is basically saying that you're here to save the world from a pedophilia, cannibalistic ring, you know, of elite evil people. And he's like, well, would that be a bad thing?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, so the media, even right now, is already setting up that narrative of like smearing the whole idea that there is even such a thing as this pedophile ring and child trafficking going on. And it's like, no, we know it's happening. Like, I can literally go on Instagram right now and share with you hundreds of profiles on Instagram that are grooming children, that are sharing child pornography. And I also shared a post that was like literally 100 different politicians or people in public office that have recently been indicted on either child pornography charges or, you know, actual like child rape or abuse. Mayors of cities, former mayors of cities, you know, Superior Court judges, like a huge long list of these people that are supposed to be public servants who all have now been arrested on child abuse or child rape or child pornography charges. So if the media wants to say like this whole pedophilia thing is trash and it's not true, like all you have to do is a little bit of digging. All you have to do is use some critical thinking, just like everything else we post about.
It was awesome too, because there was like a photographer, whatever he was, holding a camera. He looks back at her like, "Holy shit, you're saying this right
like,
now?"
oh my God. Yeah.
And yeah, Trump says something like, he's like, "Oh, what they're saying
over now."
He's like, "Oh, is that what they're saying about me?" And then he's like, "Would that be a bad thing?" And then he gets into detail, which if people don't know, like, since Trump has been president, more pedophiles and sex traffickers and so on have been arrested than any president prior combined, including Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Obama. Put all 3 of them combined, he's arrested, or since he's been in office, those people have been arrested more than any other time. And then he just created a fund for $430 million for victims of that as well. So whether you like the guy or not, he actually has intentions to stop pedophilia and sex trafficking. Now, I know people will try to smear his name and say he's been on the what's his name? SB
flight logs,
yeah. Which there's no proof of that. He isn't mentioned on the flight log. He's never been seen on the actual island. Now, Epstein has multiple places. That's something that's never really talked about. And I've shared his like, it's a ranch in Mexico. I forget the mileage, but it was something like either 50 to over 250 miles away from the next town. Not even a city, just a town. It's literally in the middle of the desert, all by itself. And he has a bathroom there, and I forget the name of the bathroom, but kind of like how he calls the island Orgy Island, it has one of those kind of creepy names to it. And it's like it's a big bathroom, like where you could fit like 20, 30 people in the shower type of deal. So I'm sure they do or did all kinds of stuff there. But that's what's never talked about, is how many different properties Epstein has. Right now, everybody's talking about the island, but this dude owned land, real estate everywhere, had mansions everywhere. We need to start looking up the security footage and all the stuff of who went to these places. But most likely, all that information has been destroyed, hidden, whatever now, because everybody's so focused on just the island.
Well, and you know what else is crazy? Like, I posted about this a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's not crazy because people like us expect it, but you know, all these celebrities, the flight logs have been released. You know, all these crazy A-list celebrities have been listed on the flight logs. And I think the only person that's even said one thing about it was Alec Baldwin. He came out with that like angry video, like, you know, calling everyone psychos for saying anything. And he says he's never met Epstein and da 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 da. Even though there's a video about like the roast video when Adam Carolla was roasting him at his Comedy Central roast, and he's like, he actually mentions Epstein and the fact that he was just arrested, and he's like, what are you going to miss the most, like the island, or, you know, he made a joke. So it's like, but none of the other celebrities have said, just acknowledged like, hey, I know there's this stuff is circulating, or, you know, even just a PR, like a release from their publicist. Nothing, not one word to address the fact that they're on these flight logs. And I'm like, is that because you just know that you can't back it up with any, you know, alibi or proof? Or is that just your way of just like staying silent and just ignore things that you don't want to address? Like, but for us, the people that know they're listed on the flight log, like normally we demand an explanation, right? Even when there's a rumor of a celebrity getting divorced or being pregnant, the public like demands a confirmation or denial, you know? And why aren't we demanding some sort of acknowledgement from these celebrities, which by the way, are telling us every single day, wear your mask, stay inside, vote for, you know, vote. Like they tell us and demand us to do these things, but yet they won't address the things that like we want to know about.
What is that one series or not series, that TV show where the owner was a lawyer, and then he'd go around and take photos of everybody? What is that? It's like TMZ. There you go. The big like, info fucking celebrity singer. The dude's a lawyer, or was a lawyer, the owner of that company. And I don't think he's mentioned one thing about Epstein. And this guy probably knows everything about almost damn near every celebrity and all his little journalist people that he has there as well. Silent. And then like you were saying, nothing from celebrities. They didn't post a picture. They didn't black out or put a white logo or put a child logo or anything. They didn't do any kind of campaigns or fundraisers to help these people. Just absolute silence. You don't see corporations joining in on this. And that's a whole nother point that I'd like to get to. Corporations are heavily invested in Black Lives Matter movement. Heavily. They're the actual only investors really in that. You have Nike, you have George Soros, you have Rockefeller, you have probably Microsoft, Facebook, all these huge companies that are investing in Black Lives Matter, all white-owned companies investing in this. They didn't invest in it when Colin Kaepernick was doing it. They were investing in it when they could take control of the movement and they could smear it and organize it to where they could create riots and protests and divide and all that stuff. So people have to understand that they're not investing in Child Lives Matter or whatever we want to call it, label it as, because there's nothing for them to gain out of it. They're not going to gain any popularity. They're not going to gain a profit off it. They're not going to be able to use it to divide people. So that's why they're staying clear of it. And I just wish people would realize that the Black Lives Matter movement is full of shit. Like, I used to go, well, in the very beginning, back in the Ferguson days and stuff, before George Soros was ever involved in it. And we used to stand in solidarity and have a moment of silence for the victim. And we would have conversations with the police officers. There is none of that now. There hasn't been that in multiple years now. And another thing is, I used to know about these protests well before, like, the majority of people, well before there was an event, page, event for it and stuff. Now I'm left out of the, blue. I don't ever know when or where these protests are ever happening. And I've been talking to a lot of my activist friends, and I'm like, yo, who is organizing these events? How is it that none of us in over 30 states, how do none of us know when the fuck these events are going down? Why is it we're left out of this? And this is coming from people that used to organize events, and they're the reason why the mask is here. That was my mask. That's how I represented myself for a very long time. I was very deep into this community and still am. And it's does anybody realize that that movement has got hijacked in this, and that other players are organizing and orchestrating and using this for specific agendas? even the guy, I forget his name, but he goes to these protests and all he does is hug people. Literally, he'll hug cops, he'll hug people, and like he's just trying to spread a positive message and say like that cop is not your enemy. There are bad cops, but there are good cops, and I could go more in depth with who is a good cop, bad cop. But anyway, even that guy doesn't go to Black Lives Matter protests anymore because I think he realized how like aggressive it has become and how it's all about divide and conquer, creating chaos and protests and so on. But yeah, it's kind of people need to start linking the two on how one movement, which is for the children, which are supposed to be people or human beings that are need protection, that us both man and woman are supposed to provide protection for these people because they can't protect themselves. Nobody is saying shit about it, and it's just the most frustrating thing. Like, I don't even have kids. I'm not sure if I even want kids because how fucked up society is, but I dedicate my life to making sure no kid has to go through any of that stuff, has to be exposed to it. And I'm just sitting here like, how many fucking people have children right now that are not saying a goddamn thing about this stuff? Like, yo, you guys have kids. This directly affects you, and you're staying silent on the subject.
I completely agree with you. You know, I don't have children of my own, but I am extremely passionate about, you know, exposing this and doing whatever we can to put a stop to any of it. You know, I mean, obviously Instagram, social media is the place that like allowed all of this stuff to blow up, you know, because it gains access to, you know, these pedophiles now have access directly to the children without the parents' knowledge and all these things. So that's like where I'm kind of starting. But I mean, there's organizations like Tim Ballard with Our Rescue who actually are conducting real stings all the time, sting operations where they go in and rescue victims and they arrest the perpetrators, and you know they're actually getting real results in rescuing victims. You know, but this stuff, I mean, it's kind of crazy, like you said, like us, even these celebrities, they have children of their own. So like when it was World Trafficking Day back in July and we were all out on the streets marching and holding signs and protesting to try and spread awareness, where were those people? And why don't they care about innocent children's lives?
Where were you when you were doing the protests? Were you in LA or Hollywood?
We were in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
On the same day, I mean, there was multiple going on that day. There was Hollywood, there was downtown LA, there was South Orange County, Huntington. There was a lot going on that day.
That is you guys were doing these protests where all the celebrities live. They live in every single town that you just mentioned, and none of them showed up. None of them there.
Not one of them. Not even did they not show up. They couldn't even just be bothered to post a single thing on their feed to their millions of followers to say, "Hey guys, go and protest against child abuse, sexual abuse, child trafficking." You know, they're completely silent, and that's just what literally blows my mind. And that's what honestly should be a red flag to people to say, let me dive deeper into this. Let me look into more of the information surrounding these theories, because if the fact that people are so silent should be the flag for you, and the fact that it's being censored should be the flag for you to say, I'm going to go and research it. Because I don't know about you, but back in the day, like, let's just talk about music. Like when I was a teenager, if there was an album that was released and it was censored and banned from like the radio, that meant I wanted to go buy that album,
Yeah.
right? Because that meant it was good. So like, I mean, if there's something that's being censored this heavily and smeared this heavily by the media, I really think that's why people should be looking into it. And if you really watch, you know, if you watch, I mean, Shadowgate just came out, but you know, there's been tons of documentaries that have been released recently. Out of Shadows is a really good one that talks about all of this stuff.
What is the one with the cabal? It's like
Fall of Cabal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's usually split into 10 different parts, like 15 to 20-minute sections. I think you can still find it on YouTube because people just keep re-uploading when it gets taken down. So Fall of Cabal, Out of Shadows, that's a really, really good one. And that really dives into the details of Pizzagate. But there's also people directly involved in Hollywood that, you know, that know people in Hollywood that have been exposed to these crazy like orgy parties that happen.
Yeah.
There's even been celebrities that have actually spoken out. And if you pay attention and you think about the people who have spoken out, like Macaulay Culkin, Mel Gibson, any person in Hollywood who has ever spoken out against this pedophilia in Hollywood, if you notice, they completely destroy their career. They make them seem like total lunatics and psychopaths, and they smear them, you know, because they spoke out against the cabal. So it's like, I just think that we need to be strong in numbers. You know, the more and more people that actually wake up, there's obviously more of us than there are of them. And I think we need to start defunding the Hollywood, you know, like boycotting these Hollywood celebrities. Like, why do we listen to what they have to say anyway? Just because TV tells us to? Like, you know, it's just.
I was following 700 people just like a couple months ago when all this stuff started happening. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm unfollowing every celebrity that doesn't speak out on this. And I only follow people on my account that follow me. I really don't give a fuck about any celebrity, anybody, honestly. I'm my own individual. I've been doing this since the beginning. I love you. I love everybody who's willing to speak out and share their platform. I just mean that, like, if I'm following you, it's probably because you're following me and you're speaking out and you're actually dedicating your life to something bigger than yourself. So I went down and I unfollowed over 400 people who were following me, all different celebrities that were following me, musicians, actors, whatever it was. I unfollowed every single one that was following me but wasn't speaking out on any fucking important issue. They're sitting here promoting their next album, promoting their clothing line, their perfume line, their cologne line, whatever the fuck it is. And I'm sitting here like, the economy just got shut down because of some bullshit virus from Bill Gates. And you guys are sitting here just posting about this shit. Do you not realize guys, people's lives are being affected? You know you're creating racial divide, right? You're from Baltimore. All the work, some of the most inner city areas and stuff. And I'm cool, but I understand, like, playing much. They should actors and whatever. They're all about Black Lives Matter. They're all about, like, hey, vote for the next puppet. Hey, buy my next product. Whatever it is. Watch the next movie that has subliminal messaging in it. But children, sex trafficking, women being raped and groped are used as materialistic value. Silent. Absolutely fucking silent. I also stopped supporting a lot of the musicians who used the N-word. I'm just sick and tired of all the oppression and degrading of human beings. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just tired of this shit. You don't have to use a word